Hello, and welcome to the Kathleen Spracklin podcast. I am a woman on a mission to help you get the Zettelkasten of your dreams on your work table beside you. Well, we've been working on Pre-Zettelkasten and pre-numbering, trying to get a handle on where we're going to go with all of those main cards we're gathering. Remember, we're aiming for about 25 of them before we start giving any numbers. How's your collection coming along? Do I need to do a review on how we make main cards? Maybe that'll be next time. Well, this time what I'm doing is a recap on the 3 options for the system that you might want to choose for numbering your cards, because your system is going to control a lot about how your cards are going to be numbered. So we went over 3 different choices, and today we're going to summarize the choices and talk about the comparisons between them. Why might you want one versus the other versus the other? So I'm all set up in the down-facing camera, so come on over and we'll talk about the 3 choices in quick review. We're not going to spend a lot of time reviewing them. The videos are out there, but we're going to talk about why you might choose each of the 3. And I remind you again that I actually have all 3 going in my Zettelkasten, and I'll even explain why that comes about. See you over there. Okay, so here we are, where we're going to start comparing our 3 choices for how we can organize our cards to get them ready for card numbering. And I hope you'll remember that for each of the 3 types of organizational methods, they all began with the same question. Is there a conversation your new card would like to join? And in every case, if the answer was yes, then your new card number will come from the conversation that it's joining. And I've made you a promise that it's going to be so easy that we can call it effortless. So that's the first question, and it covers all 3 methods. Is there a conversation your new card would like to join? And remember, we can see that conversation through the tagline of the card that brings the whole card to memory. Every card has a tagline, and the new card gets to join a conversation based on their taglines, making a conversation. Now, if the new card does not have a conversation that it feels comfortable joining, then the new number will come from the system that you choose. It'll come from the category, from the foundation cards, or from the organic structure. And just to give us a very quick review, which is really more of a reminder than a complete review, in the first choice of categories, we tended to have numbers, typically 4 digits in length. They got more and more detailed as the categories became more fine-grained. When we were working with foundation cards, we were aware that we were putting down stepping stones to get from where we were, the available conversations, to a new conversation that our card will feel comfortable joining. And when we were dealing with organic structure, if the new card had no place to go, it would just get the next available number. Or depending on where we are in the system, it might be the next available letter, A, B, C, D, E. It's just the next available one, very, very simply. So let's now chat a bit about why you might want to choose one of these different types, or why you might want to choose a system where some of your cards get put in using different ones of these systems. And I think I've mentioned that in my Zettelkasten, I have some of each type. Categories can suit a personality type, a learning style, or a project style, where in each case you want to have full control and the ability to lay something out according to a predefined plan. If you like to have things set out ahead of time, where you're simply plugging into an existing system, then the category choice might be a very good one for you. I use categories to organize my fiction writing. My category numbers keep my fiction well out of the way of the body of my Zettelkasten, and I find category numbers very handy to organize the project of writing. Victoria Crowder has a whole YouTube series on using Zettelkasten for fiction writing, and she also uses a category system. She has a book coming out, Zettelkasten for Fiction Writers, that's completely devoted to how you might use your Zettelkasten to support fiction writing. I recommend her approach very highly. But anytime you want to have your hands on the controls and you want it laid out ahead of time so that your path is clear in front of you, a category system is a good choice. There are some downsides of a category system. One of them is that you're already starting out with a 4-digit, in some cases as many as 7 digits of a category before you even begin to start looking at the structure underneath the category. And there are pitfalls. There's a danger of letting the category become more important than the conversation. We don't want that to happen. You don't ever want to decline to add a card to a conversation because it doesn't fit the category. That would be a misuse of categories. Conversations come first and then categories. Foundation cards, where you lay out little stepping stones where you need them because you have a new card that's having trouble fitting in. But if you just had one or more little cards in between the card you've got and the card where you want to go, well, then the new card could fit in comfortably. Then you might like foundation cards. Foundation cards let you have the sense of order that you get with categories, but you build it up as you go. If you discover you've got a card deep down into a hierarchy and you sense that the rest of the hierarchy is coming, well, you can build out foundation cards for the hierarchy you know is on the way, and then attach your new card down where it goes in the hierarchy. Foundation cards will appeal to someone who wants a lot of flexibility and yet a modicum of control. It's not as stiffly as controlled as categories, but you still get power over the general structure of your Zettelkasten. Since foundation cards themselves are main cards, they already carry on a conversation with your new card. Category cards, unless you go out of your way to make them main cards, they tend to just be numbers and category names, and that can be very sterile and not very rewarding when you're working with them. Last is the organic structure. The organic structure always begins, as they all do. Remember, it's the conversation that's the most important thing. But if there is no conversation, the organic structure just says, just give me the next one in the sequence. It doesn't try to build up foundation cards to build in a sequence, and it certainly doesn't do anything with categories. It simply joins a conversation or it starts out on a new path all its own. There's a danger in the organic structure in that you might end up just going 1, 2, 3, 4, on and on and on, and just have a bunch of unconnected cards. That would prove to be very, very unsatisfying. If you're going to use the organic structure, you need to be rather loose with what can join a conversation. You can't be very standoffish and make the organic structure work. If you need a formal introduction before joining, the foundation cards might be more for you. In my Zettelkasten, I tend to use foundation cards for my planned research, areas where I know I'm going to be going into some depth and I want to have a certain amount of order. I began with the organic structure, purely organic, and I ended up with a lot of things that were important to me being scattered in little pockets around my Zettelkasten. And that's why I came up with the foundation card as a way of organizing things with a light touch. The simplest of the 3 structures is the organic. The new card either joins a conversation or gets the next number, whatever next means in your system, and we will go through what that means. The next easiest are categories. If your new card doesn't have a conversation, you scan down your categories and you give it a category number and then a card number following the category number. Both of these just start out with a yes or no question. Does your new card have a conversation it wants to join? Yes, join the conversation. No, join the category or get the next number. Choice 3 was the most complicated of all because it had a third choice, maybe. Do you want to join this conversation? Well, maybe if you introduce me nicely. So it's the more complicated of the 3 types. And because your categories aren't laid out in advance, you kind of have to determine on the fly whether you want or need a foundation card. Okay, Well, now that we know a little bit about the three types, categories, foundation cards, and organic, it's time to take a look at the cards that we've been gathering and see if we can create a numbering system that would work for the cards in our hands. So gather up your cards, create as many as you feel ready to do with your existing books that you're reading, videos you're watching, conversations you're participating in. And next time, we'll take a handful of cards and we'll see if we can play with putting some numbers on them. We're going to write them in pencil because we're going to put 3 different numbers on the card. So we get to see how would they look following 3 different numbering conventions. See you soon. Bye-bye.